Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Elite Expert Insider Podcast. Hosts Melanie Johnson and Jenn Foster are the owners of Elite Online Publishing. They're both Wall Street Journal, USA Today best-selling authors. We're really glad you're here because this podcast was designed for you. Meet industry experts that share their secrets and strategies. Get successful results for your business in money, relationships, health, and your life. Each episode is going to inspire you to take action towards reaching your greatness.
Hey everyone, welcome to our show. We're so glad you're here today. So we're trying something different. I'm here with my business partner at Elite Online Publishing, Jenn Foster. Hey, Jenn.
Hey, Melanie, how's it going?
All right, if you're just listening to us and not seeing us on YouTube, go over to YouTube. We have this really cool new background. We're kind of metaverse slash what's new on Zoom backgrounds. So Jenn is in Utah, I'm in Houston, but we look like we're sitting side by side next to each other in the same room. So it's not like that typical thing where one's above the other or next to each other and you can tell, but this is pretty cool. We look like we're in the same place together. And the background's this really neat, like kitchen-y thing, but that's not really why we're here today. We want you to check that out and check it out if you're doing Zoom and see if you like that. But really why we're here today is Jenn and I wanted to do a podcast to get you started with your book. So many people have book ideas in their head. We just got off another podcast with Donna, what was her last name? Sir Duella. And she was saying, oh my gosh, I've got another book I want to do, but it's so time consuming and I just need someone to kick me in the butt. And I said, well, we do that with our VIP day. So Jenn and I thought, let's run you through what we do for that process to get you started. So we're going to start giving you an inside back behind the curtain look of the questions we give in our author assessment form, which is the first thing that you do when you sign up with us for a VIP day. And these questions are really geared to get you thinking and answering because so many times you're on this hamster wheel of information and ideas that it's hard to slow down and ask those questions. And I want to say they're hard questions because you don't usually take time to think about that. You're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Mm-hmm. So we're going to dive in and just really try and help you if you're thinking about writing a book. Some people have been thinking about writing a book for years, but this will hopefully get you started. And of course, you can always reach out to us to do a VIP day. And by the way, right now we do them one-on-one exclusively, just with one person at a time. So we're very limited on how many we do. We have not jumped into doing group VIP days, maybe somewhere down the line. If you're interested in doing a group VIP day, let us know. Maybe that's something that we'll create down the road. So, all right. So, Jenn, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to dive into this because I've done a few VIP days where I'm there with the person helping them write their book, but it'll be really fun to dive into this and to really get those people who are on the fence about, they think, I've thought about writing a book, but I've been thinking about it for over, 5 years and I just don't know where to start. So this is where you start. This is where you can get an insight onto, what you want to write about, who you want to write it for, and how you're going to lay out your book.
So what we do is your goal is what we do in a VIP day and what we're going to do today to help you is to assist you in writing a quality book that you can leverage, one that serves you, serves your readers, serves your business. So we really want you to take the time to think about these questions and provide a really honest, insightful answer to each of them. So get your notebooks out. Record the podcast if you want, or go back and you can hit pause and rewind for these questions and really take the time to go through these questions and answer them. All right. So one of the first things is, what is the end result you're thinking? So what does that mean? What's the end result you're thinking for your book? So the best way that I always tell our authors is two parts. One is for the reader, right? And one is for you and your business or your goals. So for the reader, we want you to ask this question. Someone just read your book and they closed your book. What action or what do you want to say what do they want to say about your book? So I tell someone, oh my gosh, I just finished Jen's book and you wouldn't believe I just learned ABC and XYZ, or it changed my life by giving me these aha moments about this, right? Or now, my gosh, I have been struggling with this and I'm going to take action to do this, this, and this. Okay. So let me repeat that again. Someone just read your book. They closed your book. What aha moments are they going to have? Or what actions are they going to take? Or what would they want to share with their friends that is changing their life?
And it's really important to have this question answered because, this is going to keep the end in mind, right? When we're writing a book and when we're thinking about, what we want to write about, it's really easy to think about, well, what's the bulk of the book? I need a beginning and middle and an end. But what we really want to start off with first is, what do you want the outcome to be of your book? What do you want people to say about you? What do you want as an author? What do you want them to say about you, about the content of your book, right? Because if you have that in mind while you're writing the book, then the book just is a lot more an easier flow to write and to, get through it.
All right. So then the second half of that question is for your business or your goals. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. We had an author who wrote a book specifically, and I don't want to give it away to them or the person they wrote it for, but they wanted to get in front of a company and get a job as a board member for this company. So they wrote the book, and that person was their target market and their reader. They wrote the book specifically for them. So instead of sending a resume, they wrote the book to get the foot in the door to get this position, and it worked. So they had everything in there to get this specific job. But then on the journey, the book also helped a multitude of people because it answered a lot of questions. So the book helped the person they were writing it for, that they wanted the job from, to get to know them in a different level. They were vulnerable with themselves. They showed their expertise on different levels. So you can write it just for one specific thing, like getting a job, becoming a CEO of a company, to getting your foot in the door to get a new client. So we've had them write like, this is the client that would change my business if I got this account. So they're writing it specifically for them. But then it could be just as ambiguous as, you're writing for someone that you're making up in your head as your ideal reader. So we always have our authors come up with an ideal reader and give them a name. It might be someone that they know already. It's like, oh my gosh, this is for this guy that I met, and I know he was struggling with this. Let's say, I'm writing a book about weight loss, and I met this person. They've been struggling to lose 70 pounds over the last 15 years, and they just haven't done it. And I know my way will work, and I'm going to write for them, and their name is Tom. And I'm going to write everything about like, well, what? And so whenever you get stuck, you always say, well, what would Tom want to know? What does he need to do? What would resonate with Tom? How would I say this to Tom? Tom is 36 years old. He's been struggling this long. This is where he lives. This is his life. This is his family. So you pick things that would resonate specifically with that person. So does that make sense?
Yeah, because if you're writing to that specific person, you can call it an avatar or your ideal reader. If you're writing to that one, then when the people are reading, your readers are actually reading your book, they're going to feel like they're talking, you are talking to them. And that's the outcome and the results you want, because you want it to be personal. You don't want it to be general, if that makes sense.
So the next thing, once you get that down, and really take time with that. And I want you to ask this question over and over again. Who else is that person? Because we get in a VIP day and they're like, oh, it's somebody, I think my book demographic is from 30 to 50 years old. It's probably a woman. And, and then that's their demographic. We're like, no, we want to know more about this woman. Where does she live? How many kids does she have? Where did she go to school? What's her social life like? So I want you to really dive deep into whoever that is, even if it's for a specific job or company, or it's just that demographic. I really want you to come up with that one ideal person. And then I think the next step, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think with that too, like there's a lot of things online to help you come up with your avatar. But, if you're doing a VIP day with us, like we really dive into that. but there is some worksheets and things that you can find online that's like getting your ideal customer, your ideal avatar, ideal reader, and really honing in on that. And some of the questions I really like for that to maybe pause right now and write some down, are asking the questions of, what does your avatar love and what does your avatar hate, right? Because if you really have those questions down, then it's really easy to write for that person or to write to that person, because you have exactly, this is what they love, this is what they hate. And I know love and hate are kind of stronger words, and you wouldn't normally use that for like an ideal reader. But if you have that information down, then you're really you're gonna hone in who that avatar is and who your ideal reader is. If that makes sense.
I just got to say, I love this background. This is so much fun. I just realized, like, when I turn this way, I'm not looking at you in the real world, but in this metaverse type of world, I'm actually looking at you.
It's pretty fun.
So much fun. I just love it. I'm having a blast doing this. All right. So, next question is, what are you most fearful of regarding the work that we're embarking on? So what are you most fearful about writing your book? I will say we get this over and over again. I'm just afraid my book's going to suck. I'm just afraid I'm going to do all of this work and get it all done, and nobody's going to read it, or no one's going to like it, or people are going to be critical of it, or it's not going to be good enough, or I'm not good enough. So that is probably the biggest thing. I don't know. Do you have suggestions to get over that, Jen?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, I mean, it's a lot of self-esteem, right? But it's also the self-worth part of it. So you have to remember what you're writing about usually is your expertise or your story, right? So you just have to kind of accept that your story is good enough. And we all have that, are we good enough, right? Question. Am I good enough? Is my story good enough? Is what I have to say, is my expertise good enough? We all have that question in the back of our mind. So you just kind of have to overcome that fear and say, yeah, it is good enough. You know, people already are paying me money for this service or this product or whatever, you know, the expertise that you're giving in the book. So I think it's definitely a mindset and overcoming a mindset.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is working with experts. I mean, sometimes you're in this funnel by yourself and you're not having a sounding board there to guide you through. So, you know, of course you can work with us. We offer the VIP day, book coaching, ghostwriting, and Jen and ours expertise and our team's expertise to make sure you're doing the right thing. But if you're working on your own, then share it with friends, reach out to people and just say, hey, just take a look at this. Am I going in the right direction? But, you know, don't give it to your mom or give it to someone who's going to give you real good feedback. You don't want to give it to that person who says everything you do is great. Oh, I love it. But then in the background, they're like, it really kind of, it needs work here and there, but I don't want to tell them that. So don't go to the person who's not going to tell you. They're just going to tell you what you want to hear. So go to your target audience. So you've decided who your avatar is. So our process is, once you get all the framework down and you start getting, like in a VIP day, we get 8,000 to 12,000 words written that day, that you start to have that framework and build that confidence. But even take that framework at that point and you could share it with someone, because with us, you're sharing it with all of us. And then usually once you have your rough draft manuscript, then we send it out to beta readers. And beta readers, again, are people that would actually buy your book because of the content that resonates with them. So, work with experts. If you can afford to work with experts, definitely work with a book coach, a publishing company, an editor, so you're on the right track. And I will say, sometimes people they overthink it. Don't overthink it. So even when you get it done and you get your whole framework, some people are like, oh, I got to tear the whole framework apart again. Something happened in my business. Don't do that, because it's just an excuse. Honestly, it's an excuse not to get the book done. It's an excuse to push it back to the back burner. And it's really that feeling of, I just want it to be perfect. And you have to get to the point where perfect is perfect enough. Otherwise, you're just going to keep having that book under your shelf and never go anywhere. So we always tell people, think about 3 years from now, if you wrote your book and published it today, what would your life look 3 years from now? How much new business would you have? How many lives would you change? How your life would change just going through the process of it versus not doing it. What does it look like? So I think that's a really good exercise, is to push you forward of getting it done, the feeling. And of course, when you work with us, you're guaranteed a #1 bestseller. What would it feel like to have been a bestseller for the last 3 years and had that in your title? So
yeah, so you should pause the audio right now, or video if you're watching it, and actually write that question down.
Yeah.
Right. What would it be like? What would it feel like? What would it look like? How would you feel 3 years from now? And what are the things that are happening in your life 3 years from now because your book is finished, because you've touched all these people? Like, actually get in that mindset of that place 3 years from now and write down the benefits. What are people going to get from your book? What are some of the, feelings that they're going to have after reading your book? And just take like 10 minutes and write it all out.
And then feel it in your system and visualize what it would be and the joy that you'll have and the sense of accomplishment. Because I'm sure you've told a lot of people that you're thinking about writing a book. And if it's been your kids or something like, well, mom or dad keeps saying they're going to do this, but they're procrastinating. So I guess that's okay for me to procrastinate and follow in their footsteps. I can have a dream and just keep pushing it off and pushing it off. And, so I don't have to fulfill my dreams. So just think about the messages you're sending on the negative side or on the positive side that, geez, mom and dad fulfilled their dream. They said they were going to do it. They took action and they got it done. And look how it changed their lives and changed other people's lives.
Yeah.
So
I really think that, a lot of times people are just fearful of success almost, right? Like, I know for me, like when I think of certain things, I'm like, well, what if I actually become successful at that? Then what? So maybe write that down so that you can actually visualize it and see it and realize it's not a scary thing. It's actually something that you want. That's why you keep saying, I want to write a book, because you want to. But it is almost that fear of, what if I become a successful author? What if I do touch lives of others with my book? What if I can share my message to the world? What does that look like?
And you know what? I always think it's like we tell authors, we know that when you come work with us and follow our process, that you will have a finished book in a short period of time, anywhere from, depending if they have their manuscript done, or if they're working with us for a VIP day, it's 7 to 10 months from start to finish. But I think that, now I lost my train of thought. I'll get it back. But I think what you're having is you're holding yourself back on doing that, that you just have to push forward on doing it and trust the process. So just step into that arena and know that if you have the right people, that you can do it. When you have a team behind you is really helpful.
Yes, indeed. I love it. Well, do we want to wrap up? I mean, we have a lot more questions. And when we have a VIP day, we go through. This is probably only like the first hour of
those are only the first
VIP
questions
day.
that we do. That's just the assessment form that you get before. So
that's
so if you're
before
interested
you have
in
the
VIP day, we'll put the link to sign up for. Well, it would be to do the submission form to see if you qualify to work with us for a VIP day, for a good match, I should say, if you want to do that. And we're here to help you. And I just love this new format, Jen.
I know, it's super fun.
Yeah,
it's super fun. Well, reach out to us if you have any questions about book writing, about book publishing, about distribution, how to get your book out there into lots of readers' hands. Reach out to us and we'll help you get your book published.
And we'll see you next time. Remember to subscribe to our podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.